5 beds, 1 ranch. He offered them shelter, but they gave him a reason to rise each morning. The storm had swept across the plains like a wild animal, ripping through fences, scattering livestock, and hammering the roof of Daniel Harper's ranch with relentless force. He had spent most of the evening throwing tarps over the barn and shoveling mud from the flooded doorway, muscles aching, breath ragged. By the time the thunder softened and the sky settled into a damp calm, he assumed he was alone once more, just him and the empty land his late father had left behind. Then came the knock. It was faint at first, drowned by the whistling wind, yet persistent. Daniel wiped his hands on his soaked jeans and opened the door. On the porch stood 5 figures, 4 women and a boy no older than 10, shivering beneath a single torn blanket. Their clothes were drenched, faces pale with exhaustion. "We're sorry," the eldest woman said. Her voice trembled more from cold than fear. "Our car broke down on the highway. We saw the light from your house." Daniel hesitated. He had lived alone for 3 years since his father's passing and his own failed marriage. He wasn't used to company, certainly not strangers in the dead of night. But then his gaze landed on the boy, thin and chattering teeth, holding his sister's hand. "Come in," Daniel said quietly, stepping aside. The 5 shuffled in, rainwater dripping onto the wooden floor. Daniel grabbed blankets from the closet, stoked the fire higher, and set a kettle of water on the stove. For the first time in ages, the house felt alive. Footsteps whispered thanks, chairs creaked under unfamiliar weight. The next morning, Daniel woke earlier than usual, drawn by the smell of something frying. In the kitchen, one of the women, tall, chestnut hair tied back, was cooking eggs with what little remained in his fridge. She glanced at him nervously. "I hope it's okay," she said. "We didn't mean to intrude." The kids were hungry. Daniel leaned against the door frame, feeling warmth bloom in his chest. "It's fine. Feels good to smell breakfast here again." Her lips curved into a cautious smile. As the hours passed, he learned their names. The eldest was Mara, quiet and steady, carrying the weight of all 4 others. The chestnut-haired woman was Eliza, a nurse who spoke softly, careful not to break the fragile world around her. The boy, Sam, had endless questions about the ranch, following Daniel like a shadow. His sister, Lily, carried a sketchbook everywhere, drawing even as the world seemed to crumble. And the youngest, Rosa, barely 15, was sharp-tongued but clever, hiding fear behind bravado. They explained they were heading west, chasing work and safety, until the storm forced them off the road. Their car was wrecked, their money nearly gone. Daniel could have sent them away once the skies cleared. He could have pointed them toward town and returned to silence. But instead, looking at them scattered across his kitchen like pieces of a puzzle, he said, "There are beds in the old bunkhouse. Need some cleaning, but it'll keep you warm." Days became a week. The ranch, once silent and suffocating, hummed with life. Sam helped Daniel mend fences, laughter echoing across the fields. Lily painted the house in soft watercolors, turning weathered walls into stories. Rosa teased Daniel about his hermit ways, yet she was the first to rise and help with the horses. Eliza tended his long-ignored scrapes with gentle care. And Mara, steady Mara, sat with him on the porch at dusk, sharing quiet words about loss and burdens too heavy for one pair of shoulders. One evening, as the sun sank in a blaze of red and gold, Sam tugged at Daniel's sleeve. "You're lucky," the boy said. "Lucky? How?" Daniel asked. "You have all this," Sam said, waving at the fields, the barn, the grazing horses. "And now you have us." Daniel chuckled, ruffling Sam's hair. Later, when the bunkhouse lights glowed and laughter carried across the yard, he felt the truth in the boy's words. 2 weeks later, Mara approached him. "We should move on soon," she said softly. "We don't want to overstay." Daniel felt the familiar weight of loneliness press at his chest. He thought of the empty mornings, the silence that once filled every corner. He thought of the 5 beds he had offered, and how they were no longer just shelter, but anchors holding him steady. "You could," he admitted, "but you don't have to." Mara studied him. "Are you sure?" For the first time in years, Daniel said, voice steady, I've got a reason to wake up in the morning. And I think this ranch has room for more than ghosts. Mara's lips trembled into a smile. Behind her, Sam whooped. Lily grinned. Rosa rolled her eyes, but could not hide her relief. That night, Daniel wandered the quiet halls of his father's house. The storm had passed, the land repaired, but it wasn't the same place it had been before. No longer hollow, no longer a shrine to solitude. 5 beds, 1 ranch, and a man who had offered shelter, only to discover what they gave him in return was far greater, a family, a future worth holding. He lay awake listening to voices from the bunkhouse, laughter, soft songs, Mara quietly scolding Sam. Once, such sounds would have made him ache with envy of others' lives. Now it was his life, too. He rose, slipped on boots, and stepped out under the silver moonlight. The ranch stretched wide and calm, fences sturdy, barn repaired, animals settled, yet nothing compared to the glow of the bunkhouse, a beacon of warmth and belonging. When he opened the door, 5 heads turned. Sam grinned wide. Lily held up her sketchbook, showing a sunset over the ranch. Rosa teased, thought you'd finally come check on us, old man. Eliza gave a gentle, knowing smile. Mara simply watched, eyes steady as earth beneath them. Daniel cleared his throat. I just wanted to say, you don't have to leave. Not tomorrow, not next week. This place is yours as much as mine, if you'll have it. Silence hung for a heartbeat. Then Sam whooped so loud the rafters shook. Rosa muttered, knew he'd cave. Lily's smile lit the room brighter than lanterns. Mara's reply was quiet, yet carried a promise. Then we'll stay. Daniel stood there, throat tight, heart finally at ease. The storm had taken much, but it had delivered something greater. 5 beds, 1 ranch, and a man who had opened his door, only to discover he had opened his life to a family he didn't know he had been waiting for.